Welcome into the Eagle Communications Sports Update right here on HutchPost.com. High school, college, pro, we keep you in the know. As always, alongside Glen Grunwald, I am Daren Dunn. Today we're going to recap those Royals. We'll get you set for some high school football. We'll touch on HCC volleyball and soccer. But first, we talk about HCC Blue Dragon football. 7th straight season opening victory for Ryan Rhodes and his Blue Dragon crew. And they get it done over Bethany's JV Glen, 45-7. But how about those penalties? HCC 17 penalties for 164 yards.
Yeah, seeing yellow. That's what they were seeing. They were seeing lots of yellow, and that's probably going to be a concern of Coach Rhodes. I think they're going to look at that. I heard on the day before practice, the last thing he says, guys, pay attention after the whistle and before the whistle. We don't want those silly penalties. They got them. So that's something they're going to have to get straightened out before they take on Fort Scott.
Typically something you see early on, not really something you can get out of the way during scrimmages. You really got to get into the game and see where it goes from there, and that's exactly what happened. And the funny thing you mentioned is, you want to play whistle to whistle. There were at least a few plays where the officials kind of left it up to the kids to know that the play was over without sounding the whistle.
Yeah, and that's an important part. They're going to have to learn from that. I think when they kind of got settled down, the emotion of the game sometimes catches in there. You get maybe a late hit, late out of bounds hit. They were able to take care of business, but nice win. They didn't pitch the shutout as Bethany JV was able to score later on, but still 45-7, a good start to the season, no injuries. We're in good shape.
Don't get the shutout. The defense looked okay, though. Nathaniel Cochran, the ball carrier there for the Swedes, only 1.8 yards per carry. You get a couple of sacks from Lee Spite, and then Jeremiah Ledbetter throws in a sack, so the defense looked okay. How about your rushers? Almost had two 100-yard rushers in the likes of Travis Custis. He came a couple of yards short, and of course Alvin Kamara, who looks to be the premier back most of the season.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't think he was at full speed. I talked to a couple players. They're going to say, you haven't seen anything from Alvin. I think he was being a little cautious with the first game. He's already verbal to Tennessee. Sometimes that's a concern, as he already has his scholarship for next year where he's going to be going. But I think they're going to be fantastic with Smith back there as well. So you got Custis from Georgia Tech, Kamara from Alabama that's going to Tennessee, and Smith that came in from KU. 3 premier running backs, probably the best in the league, no doubt.
Braden Smith, 2 touchdowns on just 8 carries. You get a couple of touchdowns there for Alvin Kamara, averaging 7.9 yards a carry, and then 8.9 yards a carry there for Travis Custis. Now, how about that quarterback, the dual-head quarterback there for HCC, Dalton Demas? You get a look at him. He throws for 85 yards, does throw an interception, and then you get a little bit of a look at Kalen Ben. He only goes 5 for 15, though.
Yeah, the pick by Demas, probably he didn't grade out as high, I don't believe, but I think you're still set. Now, I think it's pretty even, really. They're very similar, but yet they're different. And I think it's going to be whoever's going to take that leadership role for Coach Rhodes to step up and want to be the leader.
Both looked all right in the running game. When they had to scramble, they both averaged 6.2 yards per carry. That is Kalen Ben and also Dalton Demas. We look now over to HCC volleyball. They start off the season with 2 wins, then they drop 2 times, so 2-2 on the season before a big victory over Colby.
Yeah, they traveled to Colby and got a big win. Lost that first game of that set, but ended up winning 3-1. That was one that got away from them last year. An important win for Coach Hall's team. Now they're on the road at College of Southern Idaho. They travel out to Idaho for this weekend for a big invitational match up there September 5th and 6th. So they're going to do fine. They got that big win at Colby. That first conference victory is always important. And that was one that got away from them last year, and it kind of made it interesting throughout the rest of the season. So now they're on the road for the weekend. We'll see what they do.
Losses to Yavapai College and South Mountain, 3-1 and 3-2 respectively. Have that Colby. We go back to the first set against Colby. They lose before they reel off 3 straight victories. Kind of obliterated Colby in that second game, 25-12, on their way to a very convincing first conference victory. You won't see them in conference play until September 10th against Butler, as you mentioned, against CSI this weekend, and then they take on Salt Lake. HCC soccer, Sammy Lane, you've spoken with him a couple of times throughout the season. He is quite the character, but he is always top-notch. They start off the season 2-0.
Yeah, they're traveling to Paris. Not Paris, France, Paris, Texas. They're going to take on Paris Community College down there, and that's a big match happening actually later on today. So we'll see how they do. Then they got a couple more road games. They won't be back until next week.
They are jumping on opponents early. You talk about their first half goals. They've got 10 of them, 14 on the season, as they beat Western Wyoming 11-3. And then they get their first conference victory of the season, 3-0 over Pratt. 7 of those goals from Jen Rogers.
Jen Rogers named KJCCC Player of the Week, and also later last Wednesday named the National Player of the Week. So a great honor goes out to Sammy and his squad, especially that young lady from Liverpool, England.
Getting you set up for high school football now. Of course, we talked last week about Hutchinson High. They start with the new coach, Ryan Cornelson. They begin at home against Olathe South. You're looking at number 9 ranked in the state, Hutch High, versus number 49 in the state, Olathe South. Any early predictions on this one?
It's going to be a tough one. Anytime you take on one of those Kansas City schools, and Olathe South would be considered that, it's going to be tough. Ryan's got to be a little nervous his first game at the helm. I think he's going to be just fine. He inherits a great group of seniors. They had their blue and gold scrimmage last week. Maybe Colby Turner might have got tweaked a little bit of an injury in that one. Have to keep her fingers crossed and check and see what's going to happen. But Turner Wentz is going to be the quarterback of choice. He's going to do a great job, and I think they're going to be fine against Olathe South.
Let's say he gets that first victory. Obviously, that's going to knock a little dust off. It's going to get people to buy into the Ryan Cornelson concept. How long, though, before people forget about Dreiling?
I think it's going to be at least a half a season. Depends on wins and losses. If you lose, they're going to think a lot about Randy because he was so successful here. But Ryan's his own person, his own system. I think it's going to be exciting to see him at the helm. He's going to do fine.
Buhler, number 10 on the road. Big season opener against Andale, ranked 21 in the state. Of course, Buhler coming off of that state championship a year ago, returning only 9 seniors this season.
Yeah, they're not that deep in that situation, but they got a lot of experience. Anytime you win and get the monkey off the back. Coach Warner, though, wants Andale. He wants to take on Andale. That's a thorn in his side that he wants to take care of. So they'll travel for an Andale for a big matchup right out of the chutes.
Looking to the Royals, trying to stay on top of things on the season now, 75-61, 3-3 last week. They actually played 7 games, Glen, but couldn't quite get completely through one. It gets postponed thanks to the weather. Cleveland doesn't quite get the series sweep yet. That game will resume on September 22nd in Cleveland in the bottom of the 10th with the Royals down 4-2. But let's backtrack a little bit. They get the victory first over the Twins. That's a 2-1 victory. Gordon hits his 16th home run of the season. You see a victory 6-1 over the Twins. Wade Davis, how good has he looked? He gets the victory 8-2 on the season. His win-loss record has a .77 ERA.
Yeah, .77. You can't fault that. Their losses came in extra innings. They had a lot of close games last week. You noted that there were 3-3 last week, but got the big win last night, 4-3, and see if that carries them forward. I'm worried about that Cleveland game because you're trailing 4-2. You're going to make it up. You're going to come in and play basically one inning. You're already down 2 runs. See what's going to happen. I was also worried last night. Holland had already warmed up. If the rain came a little earlier, you had another suspension to play. Who would you have went with? Did not have to happen. They got the 4-3 win last night, so that's for naught. So now 23 games left. Hey, they're still in first place. Gotta keep on doing what they're doing, and just gotta stay away from those extra inning ones.
You definitely see some troubles in the pitching staff with Chen. A lot of folks upset with him in that 11-5 loss to the Twins. Chen falls to 2-4 on the season. He has a 7.4 ERA, a little much. Gordon gets his 17th home run of the season in that game. They lose then 6-1 to the Indians, 3-2 to the Indians. And of course that postponement we spoke of. How about the other night though? 4-3 over the Rangers, maybe getting things back on track. Perez has his 16th home run of the season.
Yeah, unfortunately with Shen, that sent him out. They sent him back down to the minors, so he is off the roster. They brought up a new left-hand pitcher, so we'll see what happens there. But time to keep winning, and I think they just keep doing what they're doing. Last week I talked about the self-confidence. They still have it. Get a little shaky when you go into extra innings, and like you said, the bullpen needs to shape up. You have to have your closer. You have to have your mid-inning relief pitcher as well, and you got to have the hits. And last night they had the hits.
For the Royals, it'll take 2 more against Texas at home before they are on the road against the Yankees, traveling all the way to New York for what could be a little bit of a troublesome matchup. For Glen Grunwald, I am Daren Dunn. We'll catch you next time on HutchPost.com for the Eagle Communications Sports Update.